Welcome back, people. It's Unstoppable Steletsy with part 2 of the Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition casted series between Eliyah's Chinese and the Angel of Death Russians. So, we saw how the first one went, right? China. I'm not going to give you too much spoilers, but it was interesting. It was fun. You should definitely check that one out if you haven't already. So, this time we're on a different map. I'm going to go over the details of it and see how this geography is going to affect the match. So this map compared to the last one was on Great Plains, so the map was really open. This one, on the other hand, has a lot of geographical features that affects the gameplay. Namely, you get these big sort of canyons, these big giant rock structures here. Obviously you can't build on top of them, and they can help you a lot with defense, a lot less walling time to protect these areas. Another area you can choke your enemy off is the river. Basically, it goes right through the heart of the map. You get these fords that you can cross, which means you're not going to get flanked as much if you can secure your side of the riverbed pretty easily, And that's where the trade route lies as well, so grab some trading posts, definitely grab some of the natives like the House of Whittlebach, as well as the House of Wetton, which is some pretty good European natives. So let's see how Russia and China do this time on this map. Alright, so yeah, basically we're back with China again. China, as we saw in the last game, they come out pretty strongly. They really know how to deploy pretty quickly onto the battlefield. And basically what China does really well in this matchup is spamming out lots of flamethrowers to deal with the Russian infantry, and then just massing in a bunch of powerful stuff, Lots of old Han armies, territorial armies. China does a mismatch of many different unit types altogether. And last time we saw China go with the Russian allies. Let's see if they do that again to take advantage of their culverins. As for the Russians, though, the Russians in this matchup try to do a bit of a combination. They try to take advantage of instantly trained infantry through both their dueling school and their fencing school. Those two combined with the church upgrade for the infantry training results in instantly trained infantry upon clicking the icon in the UI, so insta-spam. Now the problem is with that is, the Russians don't get as much upgrade advantages as the Chinese do, I would say. The Chu Konu and the Quang can become a real menace, whereas Russian Unstoppable Steletsys, they're still subpar, really. They really don't get a lot going for them. Of course, you can send a lot of upgrade cards and stuff, which, Unstoppable Steletsy Horde, Unstoppable Steletsy Combat, and a bunch of other stuff that affects Unstoppable Steletsy too. So yeah, you get some options. Now, in this initial wave, we get the Cossacks and the Unstoppable Steletsys trying to fight off the Steppe Riders and the territorial armies of Chengdaos and Arquebusiers. Also, some Meteor Hammers are already here as well. Now, the Cossacks are going to try to do a bit of protective work for the very fragile but still unstoppable Steletsy units. And now, basically, we're going to see if these Cossacks can withhold the spam of the Chengdaos and the Quangs, which I also see a couple of here. This is the interesting thing of Chinese armies, which really fascinated me when I started playing this many years ago. I really liked how you can make a mismatch of 10 or 20 different units all together, and it just sort of worked out in the end. Yeah, that's the cool thing about China. You don't have to just stick to one unit type. You actually often end up making multiple unit types, because obviously with your banner armies it always comes with 2 units, instead of just 1 unit. So yeah, you're always used to spamming a bunch of different units all together. It gives you a lot of variety, Now, something that Russia did this time around, which is really smart, is right at the ford crossing of the river, they put the ford right dead center here. So this ford is going to be a nice brick stone wall for the Chinese army, and they're going to have to confront that with hand mortars, which we can see right over here by the trading post. So China's pretty much ready to start shelling this thing. Now, the question is, can the mortars get into range? Because Cossacks are still being sent out from the fort here. And then you get a big mass of the Streletsys acting as a protective force with some recruits. And basically with that spam, they're going to try to fight off all the infantry and light cav like the Kesvits that might be coming. But one thing they won't do well against is the flamethrowers, yeah. For flamethrowers, it does not take them a very long time to start ripping through Strelets because of their low HP. And Strelets, of course, not a lot of damage in it either, so you're going to have to use the Cossacks like this lucky one here doing God's work, basically, to take those out. Absolutely. And then we got some more Cossacks taking the front over here. Oh, we got Purchiks as well, the Purchiks. The Russian halberd units. Basically the same as the halberdier, but it's, you know, it's weaker. Weaker but cheaper. Just like everything else Russia does. Now, what ally did the, yep, it does look like China went with the Russian allies again, so we're probably going to see, yep, here's the Kulverins, here's the Cossacks. Same old, but one more thing you get with the Russian allies is you can send some wagons of special European buildings, namely for defense and offense, you know, so one of those building wagons you can get with the Russian consulate is a fort wagon, so we might end up seeing a Russian fort somewhere around here as well as an opposition to the Russian fort that's on the river. Now, I don't see where they're going to construct it, though. I don't even see where they're... Oh, so they're going to put it in the back here. Now, this is pretty interesting because this basically denies a lot of Russian raids if they go for a Prishneks later. Because basically you're going to have a nice wall of, like, defensive shooting buildings here to deal with any potential cavalry incursions. And even if you don't want to put a wall down, at least it gives you a bit of warning to go into your town center or your villages right away to avoid serious damage. Nah, so you can definitely get that right. Counter Dragoon. So what's this? So is that from the Russian consulate? Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it was basically the same as the Kalmucks, I would assume. And let's do that. The Streletsys, yeah, not enough units though. Like, where's Russia's? Yeah, he's already laughing at himself. Like, what am I gonna do here, man? I don't have enough units, and I clearly don't have enough resources to make more units. I forgot TC. Oh yeah, you cannot do that in Deathmatch. You need to construct 3 town centers. You know why? Because that 20k resources you start out with in Deathmatch does not lapse. You need to make sure you get that build production going right from the start of the match. And in fact, if you can, get at least one villager working on those foundations for the town centers. At least it's something, at least you can get those queues up going sooner. The fact that Russia waited this long to get, you know, additional town centers means their build production is behind that of China. When we look at the resources, actually China's not doing too well either. How many builds do they got? Like mathematically, so 5 villagers. They got 5 villagers? So they need to produce any villagers. Is that true? Why? Well, oh, so China actually went full food spam. I've never seen that before. I've never seen that in Deathmatch before. You actually use all that food just for military. Seems to be working though. I mean, the Russian fort that was like protecting the river is now down to the hand mortars. And now China can indeed proceed forward. And remember from the last game, flying crows is always an option because it's an infinite shipment. Honestly, you see these flying crows flying out the town center and sending the enemies flying just like crows, you know? And charred too, just like crows black probably. Yeah. So definitely a lot of flying crows. So at this point, Russia does not have a lot of options. One thing Russia can try to do, they can try to mass up a bunch of horse artillery in order to take advantage of the choke point of the blockhouses. Unfortunately, you didn't realize that flamethrowers were also anti-artillery. Yeah. In fact, if you can get these flamethrowers up in the range of the cannons to attack them, that rate of fire, if they do so quickly, can actually be used to rip apart the artillery. And thanks to the fact that the flamethrower deals crush damage instead of pierce damage. So yeah, that ends up becoming a real deadly threat to any sort of artillery line you're setting up over there. So it does look like, though, Russia is fighting back this time. You see Porochik's acting as a defensive here. And any more artillery? I can't tell. Nope, no more artillery, but the Porochiks, yeah. Well, you should have trained villagers. Well, it's too late to train them now. Well, how many villages they got now? 18 villagers. I have 0 left. GG. You let me. What do you mean you let me? So he let you win? Is this man simping? You're simping for this Russia? Wow. So, there we have it, folks. 2-part series completed. Pretty interesting one, you know. For the fact that it's a 2-part series of death matches casted, it was pretty quick, you know. Not very long games at all. So let's check what happened this time. So this time I can definitely see a bigger gap between the Russian economy and that of the Chinese one. So Russia had over 70k resources, whereas China didn't even reach the 60k mark. But in terms of the army spending and the casualties, well, similarly, China was still getting more kills done than the Russians, but what you do notice here is a lot less units overall for both parties. You know, the proportion of kills to unit numbers is pretty consistent between both players, but we just see a lot less units. I think the thing that really upset this for the Chinese was the fact that they were not training villagers. You know, the thing that China was bargaining for, I feel like they were hoping for, was they were basically going to use all their food to make a bunch of goats here, you know, instead of train villagers, and then they were going to use the fulling mills to just magically slurp up all the food later on, so they could use all that initial food from the deathmatch and add into the banner armies, and it ended up backfiring, because, you know, they burned through the units too quickly, and they weren't able to get in quickly enough, you know. They weren't able to get in quickly enough. And you even see right here, Russia was ready to use the secondary fort and move in on this front as well. Granted, it would have been halted by their fort over here. So, a lot of things were moving back and forth here. I hope you enjoyed both of these. They were both pretty good games between Angel of Death and Eliyah. If you enjoyed death matches like this, always check them out on the channel. See you in the next casting games I do for DE. Signing off now from these ones.